Gabe Debenedetti is in Arlington, Virginia. He's a national political reporter for Politico. Gabe, thanks for being here.
Thanks for having me.
So let's start with Georgia. Both sides claiming some degree of victory. What can both parties take away from this looking ahead to the 2018 midterm elections?
Well, the Democrats clearly believe that there's a lot of energy on their side. They successfully got to 48% in this race, which is a lot higher than many people expected, but they're not going to be able to claim full victory because they didn't hit the 50% mark and now have to go to a runoff. So Democrats will take the lessons from this race as being that they clearly can be more competitive, even in some of the more conservative suburbs. Republicans need to be worried, and they know it.
And something you wrote about on Wednesday, Gabe, when are moral victories not enough? Which races are they focusing on winning from here?
Yeah, a lot of the special elections that Democrats are trying to compete in now are, of course, for new members of the cabinet of Donald Trump. So they are conservative seats because, of course, these are people from red districts who they have to replace. And Democrats haven't won any of those yet. They got close in Kansas. They got very close in Georgia. They might get close in Montana coming up in another race soon. But what some people are starting to think within the party is, well, when are we going to be able to actually notch some real victories here? Because the resistance, the angry grassroots voters are still fired up, but at some point they may want to actually see real victories.
Yeah. I want to also ask you, Gabe, about Republican Congressman Jason Chaffetz, who chairs the House Oversight Committee. Is his decision not to seek re-election reflective of a broader threat potentially to the GOP majority in the House?
Yeah, there are questions about what this means for the majority moving forward. Chaffetz's seat is not expected to be particularly competitive because he is in a pretty red seat in Utah, but he is an indication of a broader trend here, which is that we have even people who are pretty safe basically saying, listen, I don't want to keep surviving. I don't want to keep having to fight through this really tough environment in D.C. Now, Chaffetz might be running for governor in 2020 in Utah. There's been a lot of reporting and speculation around that, but the reality is that Republicans now have to go out and try and find someone in a seat that they shouldn't even have to be worrying about, and that's not exactly something that bodes very well for them ahead of the 2018 midterms.
Yeah, what about Democrats? The House Democratic Caucus is holding a members-only call Thursday for updates on 2017, on fiscal year 2017 appropriations. What are they looking to extract from Republicans when they likely come to Dems for votes to avoid a shutdown?
Well, I think what you're going to see from Democrats is basically they realize that they have a little bit of leverage here. Obviously, they're in the minority, but they're going to try and get as much as they can out of Republicans before the government is close to shutting down, which, of course, would happen on the 100-day mark of Donald Trump's administration. So Republicans are pretty desperate to make sure that doesn't happen. Democrats are basically saying, listen, if you want us to work with you on infrastructure, on health care, on tax reform, you're going to have to start playing a little bit more on our terms. So they're asking for not so much of a total, scrapping of Obamacare. They're asking for real assurances that an infrastructure plan would not essentially just be private cuts for companies that, agree to do what the government wants it to do. It's a pretty broad slate.
On another topic, with the executive order on Tuesday, we saw the president dig in on his campaign promise of America First. But in practice, the president's history has been described as do as I say, not as I do. How is the administration looking to reconcile those spheres? Does it appear problematic for his base at all?
It might appear problematic, that's absolutely right, but I think what the administration has basically determined at this point is that the president's base, if we're going to think about this from a purely political perspective, they don't really care about the what Democrats would call hypocrisy on issues like this. Basically, what the president was saying is that he is now going to demand that on federal contracts, American companies are the first priority here. That hasn't always been the case with his own construction projects, but a lot of Republicans are saying, listen, you're not going to be able to get any political points off of this one, so don't even try.
Right. All right, before I let you go, I want to shift now to North Korea. According to a new Quinnipiac poll, American voters are divided on how the president is handling North Korea. 45% approve and 42% disapprove. The administration seems to be at once illustrating a willingness to use force while also steering clear of steps that could spiral out of control. Is this tough talk more than a shift in policy?
Well, that part is unclear. I think what we're actually seeing is in some ways a continuation of what happened during the Obama administration, which was a lot of tough talk, not actual preemptive strikes or certainly anything like that. But what the Trump administration has suggested that it might do in North Korea is they're trying to do shows of military force that potentially could get the North Korean regime more aware of the idea that the United States is very serious about potentially cracking down on them. They're trying to pressure China. Mike Pence, the vice president, was at the demilitarized zone just yesterday. Basically, what they're trying to do is go up to the line and say to North Korea, listen, you got to take us seriously this time or we're going to stop you before you try and expand your nuclear program any further. What remains to be seen, however, is what they're actually going to do about it if there are further provocations from the North Korean government.
All right, Gabe Debenedetti, thanks so much, Gabe, for your time. Really appreciate it.
Thank you.